Excited to have you over once again this
Yes,
week.
yes. That was like my favorite day of the week, for sure.
Yes.
I was in the car, just so giddy. I was like, "Ooh, it's time."
Yes.
Hang out with King and Victor.
Endings and beginnings.
Yes.
And we have a lot of things that we're going to do even after this show. And I'm so excited to collaborate with you on that. I'm so excited about just the momentum that we're building with the BestofBecca, the show that you're building.
Yes.
And also my show. And I'll tell you this right now, I've written this down so many times in my manifestation journal, and I've burned so many candles thinking about this and just saying that I wanted to create a community of artists. I've said this so many times.
Yep. And you're doing it.
Yeah, I wanted to create a community of artists to achieve great things. And it's naturally happening. And so I am so grateful for this moment. So let's have a cheers before we begin to have that conversation.
This is like week 5, I think.
It is. Yeah, that's about right.
In a row.
Consistency is key. Yeah. The door is always going to be open, and I know life happens, but
I love that last week we knew it was a holiday and we just adjusted.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to let's continue doing that.
No, yeah, it's let's just adjust.
Absolutely.
No, I'd be sad if we missed a week.
I know. I want to actually record, because you and I talked a little bit in the living room about just how you envision your day going and stuff like that. If you were actually able to make this a part of your lifestyle. I'm not necessarily a big morning person. I make myself become a morning person depending on the job I have and responsibilities I have. Working for large corporations, more than likely I'm working 9 to 5 Monday to Friday usually, and that's probably what you work right now, right?
Anywhere between 8 and 5. It kind of differs a little bit. This one is based on the simulations that we have, but typically that's my knowledge. But I prefer morning because I'm more my brain is usually better.
Okay.
But it also depends how much sleep I get. But I'm also can adjust to. So throughout the week, this was the time I'm going to sleep. But here, I plan for it. I plan to be up late.
Okay.
And then I catch up on sleep when I can. So.
Okay. I'm not necessarily the biggest morning person, but I can be a morning person if I need to.
Yeah.
But I'll just tell you, my day, what I would love is to be able to wake up and have a cup of coffee and meditate and just ground myself and get myself right. Yeah, a slow morning.
I'm kind of like that too. I start early. I wake up at 5:30 in the morning, but I'm not necessarily ready to go. Probably by closer to 8:30 is when I'm more ready to get into the groove of things.
Right.
At 9. So
yeah. Yeah, and then go to the gym, do my my walk. You like to do White Rock, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
If I could have a longer walk or run with my dog, that's ideal. Yeah. I like to make breakfast. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot that. Yeah, I'm enjoying making breakfast too.
Yeah. I'm having to with my old job, it was closer to 8:39, so I had plenty of time because I wake up early, so I had plenty of time to cook or whatever. But now this new job, I have to prep my breakfast, and it's fine, it's fine. But I would prefer to have that fresh breakfast.
Yes.
I like to be on my own term. If I want to wake up super early, I will. But if I want to wake up later, that would be more ideal.
Yeah.
Like I said, we worked late one night, and we don't have to be up at 5 in the morning. That would be great. Right.
But
if we are just ready to go and we've got ideas and we want to beat sunrise to get good footage, then that would be. I want a reason to get up.
A reason.
Yeah, I don't want to just
I 100% agree with you on that.
I don't want to have to get up and just sit there, just to open the doors,
Absolutely. I know we're going to tap into the conversation and kick it off here soon, but it is just so refreshing to be able to, in retrospect, cook myself breakfast every morning, cooking myself, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, actually, which is great. I don't eat out very much. And that was the benefit of grieving the relationship. And I know that's what we're going to be talking about today. But, that's kind of the benefit that I was able to take away from that relationship, because he cooked for me every day, but I was able to pick up tips and tricks. And now I'm cooking for myself every single day. Yes. So there's always a silver lining, baby.
And it's so fulfilling too. Because you're ooh, I made that.
I did that.
Good. And it's and your own little twist, your own thing. And
yes.
I love it too. I mean, there's days when I'm I don't want to cook or whatever. Or it's the same things. You have to get creative with the recipes. But I find like I start connecting with other people. Like my mom will send me all these recipes now, and my best friends. Like I don't know, home style cooking is always where it is for me. So to be able to find the new recipes and creativity, and like it changes how you get like hyper fixated on one thing and then you evolve into others. I love cooking so much. Yeah.
Yes.
I love food.
I had no idea that you can turn your oven up to 450 degrees. I looked up a quick little recipe. I was like, how do you bake chicken breasts like in the oven? I'm hungry now. And it said, turn your oven up to 450 degrees, marinate your chicken, whatever. Okay. 450 degrees, put it in for 15 to 20 minutes. I was like, that's quick for chicken, isn't it?
It's because you got it up hot.
Right. And I did it for the first time like that, and it actually came out to be so good.
It's kind of like air fryer style. Do you have an air fryer?
I do.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. But you have to be careful. I don't want to like overcook on the air fryer.
Every now and then I'll pull out the air fryer. Every now and then. So, all right. Well, yes, Becca, I am ready to go.
All right. Heyo, this is BestofBecca, a podcast where we get real, and this is my co-host, KingFerdinand.
Yes, I'm so excited. Yes.
But first, I need you to remind us where we can find you, because you have your own show, your own thing.
Yeah.
And we can't forget about you here.
Well, yes, thank you so much. So I am KingFerdinand, and I'm the host of a show called Talking Just to Talk with KingFerdinand. I always have this acronym I throw out, TJ2T. So you can find me on all social platforms, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is. YouTube. You can find me on YouTube. It's KingFerdinand, all one word. And then on Instagram, TikTok, X, all of that fun stuff, it's KingFerdinand.tj2t to reference back to the show. I like to keep things consistent.
Yeah, well, thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay, you ready to go?
I am ready.
All right, so today, guys, we are talking about new beginnings.
Yes, a fresh, clean sheet of paper, a blank canvas.
Yep.
How do you want to paint that picture? What's the next chapter in your life, right?
Mm-hmm. So is there a new beginning that, you weren't sure how to prepare for?
Well, let's keep it relevant and recent right now.
Okay.
I just stepped out of a relationship that I had to end myself, and this conversation is just so relevant. And I kind of feel like I'm bringing up similar stories over the course of the last few conversations that we've had, but it's so relevant because I just recently went through it all. So the relationship ended maybe a couple weeks ago. And I wasn't prepared for it. Like I had to make a decision almost abruptly, even though I could see the writings on the wall. Along the yellow brick road, I saw the signs. And I knew it was going to come to an end.
Yeah.
And so what's funny is I haven't told you this, but I was preparing for a new beginning before that relationship ended. I already knew that it was going to end. I just didn't think it was going to end the way it did.
And to me, that is where the grief comes in. Is you didn't end the way you wanted to. Like that's where I get a little bit, I would say, OCD. And I'm like, no. Like let's talk it out to where it ends this way. Let's make sure it's this way. Let's make sure we're not enemies. Let's make sure, it doesn't end on this note. Like, I don't want that. Like, I don't want to think, every year at this time of the year, this is what happened. Kind of control it. But I'm learning to kind of let the relationship be how it is and how it ends, and accepting that new beginning to come from how that ended.
Yeah. I was totally not expecting it to end the way it did, but I'm actually grateful with everything and how it shook out, to be honest with you. I couldn't see it any other way. I mean, ultimately, to be really, really honest with you on Best of Becca, I really, really wanted it to be a successful relationship. I saw a future. I was planning for a successful relationship.
Yeah. And you got blindsided with the universe is like, just kidding. We have a new beginning.
Yeah, no, let's make a U-turn. That's not where you're going, baby.
No, I mean, mine was similar too. It's like, this time last year, I was knee deep in somebody that I thought we were going to eventually have momentum. And then here we are at the podcast, which I was starting with a show, getting kind of in there. But, I didn't have that person to fulfill much time. And I was like, it's time to focus on Becca and what she wants and connect with other people. And, here we are. Here's my new beginning right here. It's with this, with all of you guys.
Right,
and,
exactly,
with you and Victor. And, this is just, so perfect.
It's so refreshing, right? Like, you get to come over here step away from your normal everyday life and what you
Yes.
have going on. I'm sure your dog is like jealous if you leave every Thursday
It's all good.
religiously.
She's getting used to it.
Okay.
She's all good. She gets her own day later, so.
But this is a new beginning, and I think if you were in that relationship still, it may have been a little bit more difficult for you to be consistent as you have been.
And that's so true. Like that relationship preoccupied so much of
Mm-hmm.
my time, and I was so exhausted from just trying to make it work, trying to make sure they were okay, like taken care of. And then by the time I got home, like it was just like I just needed, zone out.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have that, time. And then there was the point where, like I said, I was working in another show, but it wasn't like this. It wasn't authentic. Even that was starting to get exhausting.
It was
that felt like
incongruent
a job.
with you,
This doesn't feel like a job, even
Right.
though like maybe eventually, but like not in that sense at all. Like.
Yeah, this shouldn't feel like work. This is something like I always say my purpose is to create an environment for people to speak from the heart. But I think that's still applicable to you. I think that's what you want the essence of BestofBecca to be. You want them to be real, be their authentic selves, right?
Yep, absolutely.
You want us to be truthful and honest every time we get on this microphone
we want to
together.
keep it real. Like I said, people are desperately seeking realness, and that's what we want to bring to you guys, our experiences to help navigate through similar ones. So
Yes.
yeah. So yeah, the fresh start and like how that feels. That can feel good and bad.
It sometimes feels a little bit uncomfortable and miserable in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
As you're turning the page, right? You think about reading a book when you read past the forward, right? The acknowledgement of the author and people celebrating the success of writing this book. Well, then, everything goes south, right?
Yep.
And then there's that point where you're transitioning over from the celebration, the excitement, the love.
Yeah.
And then you're turning over to that first chapter, which is the fresh start that we're just to talk about.
And you're like, oh my God, is this like right? Is this the right thing to do? Like you're so used to being comfortable. Now you're outside your comfort zone. You're like, whew, okay, gotta start again. And you're like, am I going backwards? Like, am I like, is this the right thing? Did I mess that other thing up? Do I need to go back to that thing?
Did I do this?
The job, that person, the family member,
going
especially
backwards.
The job.
Yeah.
Ooh, the job got me for sure.
Oh my God.
Especially those ones that like kept you secure, but like, especially like the money, the benefits, maybe even the relationships you created.
Yeah, the camaraderie, all of that stuff, the teamwork, that pulls on your heartstrings to feel like maybe I shouldn't have done this or made this decision to end that, whatever the case may be.
Especially with like the job, you think like all those things that like the reason why you even like the job in the beginning is like, okay, now I have to leave it because of all those things too. Or I have to leave those things in general. And that can be definitely tough. But watching to see that new start and the new feeling, kind of like, when you first meet somebody and you get the excitement, the honeymoon stage.
That honeymoon
I think the
phase.
honeymoon stage for everything.
That applies to everything. It applies to this.
Oh, yeah.
Because all right, let's be real. Let's really be real on the BestofBecca, right? Let's say, we become very successful podcast hosts and entrepreneurs, and we have multiple sponsors and different people pulling at our coattails and trying to figure out how they can be a part of this whole ecosystem that we're creating here, right, from the ground up. Well, right now we're in the beginning stages. We're in the honeymoon phase. So it feels very easy, feels very light. It feels very, very much like we have creative freedom, flexibility. But there's going to be a time potentially where we might have to put our foot down and say, okay, that's too much because we're being pulled in so many different directions. And so I think that the honeymoon phase applies to everything. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that about myself now. And I think that sometimes it freaks me out a little bit because I'm like, when does it come where I'm just like not enjoying it anymore? Or like, we're going to dive into it more, but like the grief. Like the grief of like, oh, it's no longer like that anymore. It's different. It's more business-like, or it's more work-like, or like in that, it's not just in career, also in your relationships too. Like, it becomes more work. Like
it's becoming more a burden.
It's like, or I have to, or like the pressures of like, if I don't, then this will happen, or I'll lose all of this, or whatever. But I'm also learning with that comes the fresh start too. Within the thing.
Within what?
Like within, so say we're doing this, and we notice it starts to get more work-like. Well, there's a new beginning within that. Like we just have to adapt and adjust to work through that.
Well, there's like also
it's like a new challenge,
evolution,
basically.
the evolution of it, right? Because like, all right, if it becomes more business-like, professional, let's say we have, we already have so many different layers to what we're both working on.
Yeah.
But things will become real pretty soon. I already know it to be true. So like there's going to be a schedule, there's going to be calendars, there's going to be commitments, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So things
we're kind of already getting that. Like we're releasing, we're now releasing my second episode. Like now that's a schedule. You guys can see it every Thursday.
Yes.
That kind of thing, and that's my commitment. That's something that I put everything in the way for that to happen.
Yeah. So that's a new beginning for you.
It's a new beginning for me. And it's exciting right now, but I know there's going to be a week where like, oh my God, I'm going to be sick or something, or just working extra in my other job. Like it's going to happen because I've experienced it before.
Yeah,
but I know this beginning is so much different though because of the people I'm working with. I've had that other experiences. Like I'm kind of prepared. Like I'm not so scared about it, but I'm aware of the grief and other things that could come from it, but we can navigate it. We can navigate it.
Yes, and you could also use a scheduler to post your episodes. If you're not feeling well, because BestofBecca, I don't know if you've been able to tune in and listen to the first 2 episodes, right? But this is a very privileged individual.
Oh, yeah.
She's got her shit together, okay? So automation is key.
And that's what happened today was I had I feel like I'm sharing my secrets, but I had the show ready by Tuesday.
See?
But I scheduled it for this morning, so I was already at work by the time it was showing.
See, you're already doing it. Yeah.
It definitely failed me, and I had to go and make sure it was published. But it was already. But all the hard work was there, and I just had to push a button though at that point. So it was pretty much automated. So,
you weren't connected to Wi-Fi as it was trying to do it or something. Maybe that was it.
I really don't know. I scheduled for it to go out at exact time, and then when I checked at the time, it's like, oh, it still needs to be published, and I just hit publish, and it did it.
But at least
it had everything else in it.
That's
so it was
good.
Like the description, everything else was in there, which was perfect because I needed to edit something. There was a typo. So I was like, it was really okay.
Oh, it worked out perfect.
Yeah, it worked out just fine. But like I said, I didn't have to do like I got to do the nitty gritty like in the comfort of my home without rushing at like 8 a.m. today to get it out at work. It was already.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm like that though. I'm all about the scheduling.
The automation.
Being proactive about everything.
In theory, I would love to be that way. And so it is refreshing to be around people who are like that.
Yeah.
So it can bring me to that level of consistency. Because like I wanted to be that way. But then I'm like,
well,
I don't have to do it today. Like that, because I'm a Leo. I don't know if you know the difference.
Oh, I do.
Okay, so Leo's like, Leos can be a little bit lazy sometimes.
Well, something my sign, but what really gets me, the reason why I'm like that is because I notice how, like, especially in technology, things go wrong. No matter how much you prepare, something goes wrong. Just like I scheduled it, like I had a day. It's like I did all these things, but there was still one part that wasn't successful, but I was prepared enough that it didn't keep me from publishing any later at all. Like it was fine. I just was able to catch it, adjust accordingly. Like I work with technology all day, every day, and I always refer it to be like a child. Mm-hmm. And I mean this in the nicest way, but like you can have a child where you feed them, you rest them, you do all the things, and then you get to the event and they have the biggest fit ever. And that is the exact same thing with technology in every aspect. Like, and that happened to me in my work life this week too. Is like me and my colleague, we prepped so hard for this one simulation, and literally 2 minutes before it starting, we had a huge issue that we weren't even aware of what could even possibly happen. Mm-hmm. And that's just something like you have to be prepared for and aware of, and that's now a new beginning. Is now we get to tackle that new challenge,
right? And then next time, so now that you've had that new beginning, that new challenge, you work through it, and then you go through it and you do it with such ease and grace. Because you had an example with the editing process. You just told me about that, right?
I see technology got me this whole week. Bought a new MacBook, thought this was going to be great, and for editing purposes, that'll be better than my PC. I could have had that show done by like Sunday night, but no, I had to re-edit it on my PC, which it was fine. It worked out because then I was like this with it. And I was like, I spent more time trying to like hope that Mac would do what I wanted it to do, when in the end I should have just went straight to the PC. Yeah.
Yeah, Vic, he hates Mac, but he knows that's what he needs. And because I used to work for a technology company that had their own computers, I was immersed and drunk the Kool-Aid. And so, of course, I was just, that was the product that I used. Eventually, I wanted a Mac. And so I have that with my iPhone and connectivity. Yeah. I love it.
And that's exactly where I'm at. Is like I have an iPad, I have an iPhone, and I was like, well, I don't have a Mac yet at all. And I thought it would be great for editing, but we'll see. We'll see. Apple, if you're listening, you can send me a new MacBook.
Oh my God, that would be crazy. They have no reason why they would ever like interact with us peasants. Like, have you paid attention to any of the movies? Like, they have Mac and Apple phones, and like,
literally,
you know how much money they pay to get their products in the movies? It's crazy.
Probably more than like Super Bowl commercials.
Yeah.
Which are a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whew. But yeah, anyways, you never know.
It is insane. It is insane. So, but yeah, fresh starts, like I said, clean sheet of paper. You got to think about like, the ending, something that you may have gone through a relationship. That's I bring that up because that is the most recent ending that I've had, but I can relate to the career ending, working for companies that either go out of business or you get laid off, or you just feel like you need to sever ties with them because it's just no longer a fit.
Yeah. And then our last conversation was about staying committed to leaving an unhealthy relationship. And I think this helps segues, because you're like, okay, why should I stay committed? That fresh start. That fresh start is why you stay committed, because that is so much fun. It's so exciting to see who new you're going to meet, what lessons you learned, and how it's going to, what's going to happen. Like,
yes.
You invest in yourself. Like, you see what you're made of.
Yes, absolutely. You want to reinforce the 3 points we're going to talk about with new beginnings?
So with new beginnings, we're going to talk about the fresh start, which we just hit, the awareness and stages of grief that do come with the new beginning, and then we're going to talk about the silver lining about all this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can talk a little bit about awareness. Like, how do you know?
Well, for me, it usually comes with, it's the depression. I get much more sad, and I'm like, oh, yeah, like I can feel, like I've had so much grief in my life at a young age, though, so I recognize it pretty quickly. So that's for me, for sure. And like the change of emotions in general, like just, even just having like a whole lot more energy, that kind of thing, like just trying to keep yourself busy, like doing this and that, like if that makes sense. Have you ever felt like that?
Yeah, it makes sense. I guess I experienced grief, and I've become aware of it. It's just different. It's just different for me. What I've noticed is that it's a sense of emptiness, and I don't know where it's coming from. Like, why am I feeling like this? But I'm not asking myself those questions at the time. It's in retrospect right now, right? But like, sometimes I might just want to do something very, very simple where I don't have to think. Because if I think too much, or if I get into the groove of doing something that brings me back to that moment before this new beginning, then I have to bring myself back to maybe an unpleasant thought.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of where I just like keep myself busy, like trying to fill a void of some manner.
Yes.
Like I kind of can't sit still and watch. Well, I can't do this anyways. I'm ADHD as heck, but like I really can't focus on like a movie. Or
you can't?
It depends. Like if especially since we've been focusing on this a lot, like I just have ideas like that, and I want to work with it. But it is very hard for me to watch a movie. But whenever I'm dealing with grief, it's even harder for me to focus on anything. It's hard for me to focus on work. It's hard for me to focus on just regular like conversations. I dissociate a lot. Definitely, like it's right now, like I'm really having a hard time just like finding a show that I want to watch or that kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's the opposite for me. That's kind of where I was leading to. Is like you start to find things that feels more automated, where you don't have to really think, you don't have to be
Yeah.
involved. So I find myself Netflixing and chilling by myself.
See, my problem is that when I do try to find a show, like it triggers other emotions.
Oh,
and
I
then
see.
it makes me think about it.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Unless
guess
I watch sports. Sports helps. Like
Yeah.
things that aren't gonna trigger, which is hard to find. But yeah.
Yeah, I find myself. You probably would never want to watch the stuff that I'm watching then, because it's. I watch stuff like. Have you ever heard of Love Is Blind?
Yes, you're about to get me into that though.
Yeah, Love Is Blind, The Perfect Match. So it's like it's all love related, but for some reason my brain disassociates my relationship and breakup from this because I'm always optimistic about
I
love.
wish I could be like that. Mine's just like, oh, I want that.
Yeah.
Or oh man, that's what like that reminds me of this person and what we had, or that kind of things.
Like my brain is able to disconnect fully away from the whole idea of Love Is Blind and Perfect Match and the whole purpose of the show.
Okay.
For some reason, I think because I'm more focused on the personalities of the people that's on the show and the humor. Because what I love to do is study human behavior.
Oh, me too.
Like observe human behavior, I should say. Right? It's like, what would you do in a situation where there's a whole bunch of temptation? Right? That's like, because that's what those shows really are. Right? So that's what I find myself doing, to disconnect and pull away from the thoughts.
Yeah. See, I'm always like out doing something, like, you know, this, or walking my dog, or going swimming, or something active.
Yeah.
I have to move my body. But sometimes it's hard to focus on those things too. So I often find myself just scrolling on TikTok. That's usually that's really my Netflix. It's a TikTok.
I see. So what are some other ways that you can become aware that you are in the grieving process? You want to go through the 5 stages? You remember?
Yeah, so definitely the 5 stages, which, I did not bring it's sticky, but it's denial is the first one.
Yeah.
Depression. And then it's bargaining. And I've got 2 more. I'm missing one of them.
Depression. You said, okay, denial, anger,
bargaining,
depression, and acceptance. Yeah. So that's the 5 stages, and I think that you can find yourself in either one of those at any point in time when there's an ending, a person that passed away, a relationship, a job. Or just something that's just not even incongruent, that's like incongruent with you.
A big change, even if you like don't necessarily like a friendship that's just adapting. Like maybe like you hung out all the time and now like you left for school and you went to different schools now, and or you moved away, like just dealing with that kind of grief. Like maybe you still talk to them, but the relationship is different. It's gonna be different, and that's for me. I notice it now. I know early on because I'm like, okay, then I know how this changes. So to me, it's like, okay, the denial. I know that's gonna happen when once I realize, I think everything's gonna be fine, or yada yada, or we're gonna get back together, or this job is gonna work out in some way. Like I know that the grief is coming based on the denial.
Yeah. Well, I had a really, really good friend of mine. His name is Professor Frankie.
Oh, Professor Frankie.
I call him Professor Frankie because I just feel like the universe dropped him into my life at the perfect time. And he actually met Professor Frankie.
I did.
He's from Spain, and I remembered I was manifesting new relationships, and just, I was at a period in my life where I had some endings, and I was looking forward to some new beginnings, some fresh starts, right?
Okay.
And I remembered asking, I need to connect with some new people, some like-minded people, some people to get my mind off of the things that I'm thinking about so much, right?
Yeah.
He showed up at the perfect time, and I'm just so grateful for that type of relationship, because it was never a moment that he was upset with me because I didn't respond or couldn't spend time with him. We were always very in sync.
Yeah.
And so what we talked about earlier is like when you have those genuine connections and it's truly authentic, you should never have to apologize about not being available to a person. Or feel sorry because you're not able to spend time with that person. Whatever the case may be, you shouldn't have to apologize for those things, right? I never had to do that.
It's like it's valid to feel those things, but
it is
problem solving to where you don't. or how to adjust that. I think that's the goal, in my opinion.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, but back to like the stages, we listed all 5 of those. Those don't necessarily happen all. Like the denial does not always happen first. Sometimes the anger happens first. Sometimes the depression happens first.
Right.
Okay, the acceptance definitely happens last, but that's been my experience for sure.
Yeah.
Because depending on what it is, the anger happens. In the bargaining, that one was big in my last relationship. Was
the bargaining, I went through that phase.
Yeah, which is why we talked in the last episode about like staying committed, because when you're bargaining yourself, you're like, oh, maybe we can figure it out, maybe this can happen, or maybe this and that, or maybe it was my fault. Like you're going back and forth. Yeah, and that's how you know you're in the grief too, big time.
I just wanted to say real quick about my friend Professor. He moved away to Spain because he was here on a visa for 5 years, and then he moved away. And so I didn't realize I was going through the grieving process of my relationship ending with him. That's the point I wanted to make.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So it was just such a beautiful relationship. And once he moved away, or, we got to the ending part of it, I remembered he would say, well, King Ferdy, I'm not really good with goodbyes. Just like a good homie, was like a really good friend. And I feel that I'm going to see him again. I'll visit him in Spain, or, maybe he'll have a reason to come back to the U.S.
I hate saying goodbye. I don't. It's see you later for me, always, no matter what it is. I'm always like, see you later.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if I know it may not be later,
Yes.
But I also want to mention that, like, grief doesn't necessarily happen with death, because you mentioned, like, kind of being unaware in certain, relationships moving on, that there was a grieving process. And I think a lot of people think that grief only happens when you lose a loved one of some sort. But that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, it could be from a pet. Maybe you had to, like, maybe you're so busy and you have to, like, put your pet up for adoption, like, so that they can find another home. You'll go through the grieving process during that phase too.
Yeah, most definitely. But yeah, I mean, grief is in all aspects. It's definitely in death. I've had several of that. My, very best friend, she passed away about this time last year, so this is kind of a segment to her. I think she'd be very proud of this. But then I've noticed after her death, that I noticed the same feelings in leaving my friends for college, or leaving the job, and leaving my parents to go live alone. All of those, I felt every bit of that. Yeah. And I still feel it to this day, just even when it's like a change in schedule. There's an ending, a clear ending though, because sometimes it can be abrupt. Yes.
And then sometimes you can anticipate the ending when a beginning is happening.
Definitely.
So, yes. Definitely. I'm from New Orleans, right? Back in 2005 is when Hurricane Katrina happened.
This is a good example.
So it took me a while to realize that I was in a grieving process, but you mentioned it last time, and you really helped me circle back to that whole period of time where I was grieving it and didn't even realize it.
And you mentioned something also about, like, once the dust settled, that's when you could feel it all. And that's exactly how I am. Like, we had a big storm here in, like, the White Rock area. I'm not sure if Oakland got hit.
When was that?
This was like a month ago. Victor, do you remember when that storm was? It was a pretty big.
A couple weeks ago.
It was no. It was a big storm. It was the one that, like, no one even knew was gonna hit our area.
Probably like a month ago.
Oh, but was it a tornado?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, it was tornado. Yeah,
tornado. Big time. And I had to, like, go to my parents' house for a week. Like, I had to take my dog. Like, everything changed right then and there. And I thought I was really fine. I was like, oh wow, I thought I would be experiencing more emotions, but it wasn't until I got back into my apartment, everything was settled, that I started feeling it.
I see.
Yeah, and I feel like that was similar to what you were saying. You're like, it wasn't like that when everything was happening. Like, you just knew how to react and adapt, but then once you got to settle down, and you're like, oh my God, I just went through that. Like, yeah. I mean, I think that's a good awareness of your grief.
Yeah, I didn't become aware of it, but I'm really lucky. I always find the silver lining in all of it. I was lucky to be with my family and some of my close friends as well. So it wasn't so bad.
Yeah, and you know what? See, that's good. You were able to see the silver lining of it too. And that's kind of how I was too. I was like, well, I got to spend a lot of time with my parents. We have a different relationship now, so it was actually very beautiful. In the past, I'd be like, oh my God, I had to to spend a week with my parents. This is going to be horrible for everybody involved. And they're going to laugh when they hear this. But then when I came back, like we enjoyed each other. You know, my parents had dinner every night. And they were happy to be able to like not have leftovers. And like my dog was able to enjoy the yard. And I got a break from the dog, and, you know, that was nice too. Like her being taken care of by some other people. And so I think the grief did hit when I came back home, and it was like, okay, now you got to cook the dinner, and now the dog has, you know, doesn't have the yard anymore. Like all those things happen.
Yeah.
For sure. But you know what I was thinking? Car accidents.
Oh.
Yeah, I think there's grief for those big time.
Yeah, with your car. You mean?
Or even being your own car.
Because you don't have that car anymore.
You don't have that car, but even just being in that accident, I think that provides a lot of grief, and you're like in fear, and you deal with all kinds of all those stages. You know,
Yeah,
you're angry
definitely.
that whether I got in the car with somebody, or you know, because you didn't have the control, or you're angry at yourself for not yielding, or whatever.
Or maybe your car was almost paid for.
Oh, yeah. Or the insurance doesn't cover as much as you anticipated. Like,
Yeah.
you know, now you gotta, now, like you were on the grind, you had your life together, and then now it stops because you have to deal with all the paperwork. And
Yeah, because there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
The grief that I didn't acknowledge about leaving home New Orleans, I was really grieving the food. I was grieving the freedom of, you know, like music on the street. You can drink anytime you want. Like, there's just so much energy and so much fun that you can experience. You haven't been, right?
nope, not yet.
You have to go, and maybe we should all go together.
We
if
gotta
can.
go together. I
Yeah.
have to go with you
Yeah.
for sure. Absolutely.
But that was the part that I was really grieving, is like I was grieving my friends and grieving the opportunities that I was able to manifest.
Yeah.
But then the universe delivered some great opportunities here in Dallas. So then that grief kind of slowly but surely. Yeah, the new beginning.
And that was the same for me. Like fresh out of college, like I was not good for honestly a few years. I was like, I want to go back to school. Like I miss all my friends. I miss, you know, the lifestyle I lived. Like I was grieving that, and we'll have a whole episode about that actually. But like, they don't tell you about the depression after school. Like it's heavy, big time. Because like you really gain like a close, you know, net of friends usually that y'all are going through the same thing. You're all going through finals, like you're all away from home.
Right.
And then you go your separate ways, and you have no idea when you're going to see each other. I mean, maybe you have a couple here and there, but like even then that relationships, all that changes. Like, and that's a lot of loss.
And it's almost guaranteed that everybody who you were associated with is going to go in a different direction.
Yeah.
It's rare that you and that person is going to go on the same path.
And I dealt with so much of that, the anger and the depression for a long time. And like I said, the denial was in there for years. And then finally accepted, kind of like you, and I was like, look at all of these like opportunities that Dallas has brought you. Like now I don't want to leave. Like, so the awareness and stages of grief are going to come and ebb and flow. And I think a lot of people think, oh, okay, I got through the denial, I got through the anger, I got through all this, now I'm done. That's not the case. Like I'm about 6 years deep with my good friend that I mentioned earlier who passed. And it really just changes. You know, I think some years might be harder than others in some sense, but you have to define that for sure.
Okay.
On what is, you know, what is your hard year.
Yes.
You know, but for me, I started to be aware, like, you know, I know it's the anniversary is coming up, and I notice I have more of that grief early on before the actual day, and then on the day, I'm actually not so bad usually. Yeah.
Are you a person that remembers birthdays and stuff like that?
I've gotten better about it. I used to not. But now I've gotten a lot better because I see the importance of it. To me, it was so like, we do this every year, like why? But now I know why, and so now I try to, especially my close people.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think birthdays are very special. I think they
too.
should be celebrated. I think it's expressing gratitude to God, the universe, for you know, having a beautiful life every single year, an opportunity to celebrate.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
what I think.
Yeah, so I definitely try. I'm not the greatest memory, but I have them in my favorite people. I have them all on their phone, and I write letters about how proud of them of this previous year, and then what I'm excited for them for this coming year. So that's what I do for birthdays, and of course with a special gift.
I'm not the kind of person that remember birthdays, like the actual day. But I'm like, all right, her birthday is in July.
July,
I know
yes.
Jill's birthday is in December. Like I remember a
Yeah.
month.
Oh,
But don't
yeah,
expect
same.
it. Don't you?
The day
It's your
of.
responsibility to tell me. Just to tell me your birthday.
Well, I'm
all right,
telling
it's
you
coming up in a
now,
week.
It's in February.
Next year, don't tell me now. Tell me in December, as a matter of fact.
You're right, but I'm the same way. Like I will like almost tell you my friends do this too. They'll tell you like happy birthday every day but the day.
Yeah. And
then
it's
on
okay
the
to
day,
celebrate
it's like,
every day of the month, too.
Heck yeah.
Every
it
single
is.
day of the month. Well, we can segue away from the conversation
let's-
just for a sec and play this little game that I created last night. I was recording some content with my best friend and my sister, DJ DDB. She came over to the studio. We had so much fun. She said there was something trending on social media about vintage names. And Barbara was the name that kept coming up. So we just kind of went on a rampage and a tangent talking about Barbara, who are you? What do you do for a living? Like, where are you in life? What is your daily rhythm, right? Like, what are you doing?
Are you Barbara?
Yeah. Barbara, can you hear me? Speaking to the mic. So I love that whole idea. And so I came up with this segment last night. I was like, all right, let's call it The Name of the Game is the Name Game. We're gonna play the Name Game tonight on Talking Just to Talk with King Ferdinand. It's a segment, even though we're recording with BestofBecca right now. But we're gonna do a little segment for TikTok. So name of the game is the Name Game.
Yeah.
So what's the name that comes to mind right now,
Are you ready?
BestofBecca?
I've been holding this one in.
Okay, I'm so glad you held one in for me. Okay.
Stacy.
Stacy is, she likes spicy food.
Okay.
She likes spicy food. Stacy wears glasses.
Oh yeah.
She wears
does.
glasses. She wears bifocals. Stacy didn't like that. But Stacy likes spicy food. I think she has one daughter.
Okay.
One daughter, and she's young. She's a young daughter. That's a white woman.
I feel like
that's a white woman.
You were like mind reading one of my friends that I'm thinking.
Am I doing it again?
Like you're nailing
Does she like
it.
spicy food and she wears glasses?
She wears glasses.
Her name's Stacy.
The only thing is I don't think she's full white. I think she has Hispanic.
She's light skinned.
Yeah.
She's not this color, right?
No,
okay,
no.
that's what I'm talking just to talk about.
Yeah, no.
Okay, what else about Stacy? Stacy can't keep a consistent job. Stacy is not able to hold on to a consistent job.
I am so sorry about
Stacy,
that part.
she hasn't really decided her career path. Just like me. I mean, I'm still trying to figure it out too, Stacy. It's okay.
Stacy likes hip hop.
Okay,
Yeah.
so she likes black men, baby. All right, Stacy. Yes, I get it.
Stacy likes to dance.
Stacy, yep, but she's not a good dancer. She likes to dance. She's not a good dancer. She's gonna be on the dance floor. And wasn't Stacy Barbie's best friend?
Is she? I don't know. I didn't know that.
Stacy is her best friend.
Oh my
Barbie's
God,
best
that's
friend.
Hilarious.
But Stacy's always like she's never the main attraction.
Okay.
She's never treated like she's the prize.
Yeah.
So did I get it right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh.
Yeah.
The intention is not for me to get
You're
it like
right.
spot
No,
on.
I was just thinking of a Stacy, and
Yes.
it was just really, really close. But typically, that's not how it goes.
No, that's not the intent. The intent is the name of the game is the Name Game. We throw out names and we just kind of like improv and describe who that person might be. So,
Yeah.
hope you enjoy.
Yep, we'll be in for next time for sure. We
Yes.
do this every week. Okay.
You got it? And what about a male name?
Yeah, I got one. Michael.
Michael, we talked about that.
Did we?
No, me and my sister.
Oh,
actually.
okay,
Not you.
okay. I was
Not
like,
you.
nah, I can switch it
One
up.
thing I didn't say last night. All right, Michael Myers might be a serial killer. Michael Myers. Michael Myers is what I think about when I think about Michael. Michael is a classic name, though. That's a name that can live on for generations to come.
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee you, like, there's been some Michaels along the way. Like, that's been a name that's been around for a minute.
No, yeah, for sure. I know many Michaels.
But Michael is a little bit stiff. He's a little bit stiff. He's uptight. He is not funny. He's not funny. And he might have a bald spot. He might have a bald spot right here. And
Is Michael middle-aged too?
he's definitely middle. He's a little bit older. Not like he's not 45 yet. He's somewhere between 40 and 45.
Okay. All right.
43. Let's go with that number. He drives a truck.
Okay. All right.
He drives a truck.
Michael.
Does he wear cowboy boots? And you can chime in on
That's
this.
where I'm thinking. He wears cowboy boots. He lives alone. He has 2 dogs.
He lives alone. Has 2 dogs.
He lives in a trailer.
Michael has a lot of time on his hands. Is he planning things? How's his garage? Is that
It's a hot mess express.
But does he do like work? Is that like a workshop?
It's probably like he works on cars, but he's not like very organized. So,
He's not organized.
The parts are everywhere. He's got old parts. Like he's a junkyard.
And his tools are rusted. His tools are not separated by what kind.
But I also feel like Michael could be another narrative. Because Michael could be sophisticated.
I don't know Michael that's sophisticated. But I would love to meet this person.
Michael has, a wife and 2 kids, but he's kind of plain and Jane. Like he's serious. He's not.
Okay.
He's also not funny. But I think he could also be a little bit more put together. But like very middle class, suburban, like.
That's not the Michael that I have in mind.
See, you're
it really could be either way, but like I always like to stick
Maybe I'm thinking of a Mitchell.
A Mitchell, that's a professional, well-educated man, okay? He wears slacks.
You're right.
He's pressed. Mitchell is well put together. That's a different person.
Michael works in a vape shop.
Michael, yeah. Michael, he is kind of like, okay, he might be the match to Stacy.
Oh, I don't know about
that. They might be a perfect match, but they haven't met each other yet. They don't know each other yet. But Mitchell, that is a man of prestige. That is like the university that he went to. They respect him and they probably name something after him. Mitchell. Yeah, he's got it together. He wears loafers.
Michael and Stacy, man.
He wears loafers. He has a briefcase. He is serious, but he's charming and attractive. Mitchell. What else? What do you think? Mitchell. He definitely eats well.
Yeah.
He's healthy.
He eats well. He's pretty basic. Like he just comes home to his family. He watches. Probably Blu-ray still.
Mitchell is very loyal. Yeah, he's loyal to his family. He's not. He's never gonna cheat on his wife.
I would say clean.
And he's not gay. No. Mitchell is not gay. That's what I can tell you right now.
I feel like a little OCD. Like the house is.
Yeah.
And like things have to be in order. He's not gonna go out of his comfort zone.
Right. That's a man that is set in his ways. He knows exactly what he wants, and his wife knows that too. There's an expectation already
and there's
agreed
no
upon.
change that's gonna happen in that realm.
No, not necessarily, unless he has a life-changing moment that pulls him out of it.
And he has to.
And then he has to, but right now, based on his trajectory.
No, but he's gonna control what he can control. He's probably like probably works in like business.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's not the entrepreneur. He's a corporate. He's an executive.
Ooh, that's good.
He's an executive at a very successful.
Part of a leadership team.
Yeah, he's an executive or a partner somewhere. And he wears a lot of like neutral colors. He's not a flamboyant person whatsoever by any means.
No, yeah, real basic. Wears the same clothes pretty much.
Yeah.
A little different because his wife makes him. But.
And what about Trevor? Let's change up that narrative. Trevor.
Oh,
Trevor.
Trevor is trouble.
Trevor?
Yeah, Trevor's trouble.
I think Trevor is very attractive.
Oh.
He's very attractive. I wouldn't say he's a ladies' man, but he's definitely charming enough where men and women will probably be attracted to him.
I just keep seeing red hair.
Red hair, like like this red,
no,
or like red,
auburn.
like red.
Yeah, like a real red. Yeah.
Trevor. Okay. I was thinking
he's like an inner demon, Trevor. I don't know. I just thinking like bad boy.
Okay. All right. What does he do in his free time?
He smokes weed.
Definitely. All right, let us get back to the conversation then. It's fine.
So the awareness. You're really aware now. You're like, okay, well, I lost my friend, whether it was, death or loved one, or, maybe they moved away, or now you've, lost the typical what you're used to. That's when, to me, the awareness comes in. Okay, start preparing for that denial. Start preparing for that anger. Start preparing for that. And what are you going to do with it? Okay, what are you going to do with that anger? Are you going to lash out in front of all your friends and family? Or maybe that's when you are aware, too. You realize, like, you're starting to get more frustrated with your close friends. You're more irritated.
You should go to the gym. Go to the gym, become active, get out in nature. Because you got to do something with all of that pent-up animosity and anger if that's where you are. Once you become aware of it, you got to do something with it.
Move that energy, which I think is why when we talked earlier, you're like, what do? You watch Netflix. I'm like, no, I move. I try to get it out. And I think that's my notice is I have all this energy because I'm like, okay, I'm trying to get all this out. What am I feeling? Because sometimes you will feel anger, bargaining. You'll feel all of it at one time.
You mind if we talk about the bargaining phase?
Yeah, sure. What you got?
Because, I want you to give me an example of what that looks like, because I can't relate to that.
We're gonna get real. We're gonna get real here. So when my best friend passed away, I blamed the heck out of myself for it.
Oh.
And so I was bargaining. If I went to the lake, she would still be alive. Yep.
How did you go there?
What do you mean?
Wait, say that again, repeat that.
Yeah, like if I went to the lake with her that night, maybe she would still be alive.
With her. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
bargaining.
okay.
So like forever, I was like, I should have gone because I decided to stay in that one night.
Wow.
And the one night that I stayed in, like that's when she didn't go home and then things happened. And I was like, well, maybe if I was there, I could have guided her to go home earlier or this and that. But also the other side was, I could have also been in the car with her.
Yeah.
And just constantly feeling responsible, which triggered in other ways of my life of being like, I need to make sure everybody's safe and this and that. I don't want it to happen again. Or maybe I need to be at every single thing now. Like that was my bargaining.
I see.
And also even bargaining with the denial that, because this is deep too, but like I didn't get to see the body. So I was like, okay, maybe this isn't real. Maybe she's still out there or something. And I know somebody else that happened to them too. They're like, like they had a car accident on a road trip, and like, they're still gonna come back. They're just still on their trip. And I know that's happened to a lot of people.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I guess, about the relationship aspect of it. Like when you were in a relationship that had to come to an end. Like where was the bargaining in that?
The bargaining was like, well, I think if I did X, Y, and Z, then it would be better, or if I stepped back and gave them the space, then maybe they'll come forward, or just bargaining with myself too of like, I won't go and do my own things just in case because maybe they're gonna come back, or that kind of bargaining.
Okay.
Or bargaining with them, maybe they come back and I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to feel the grief. I don't want to feel the loss anymore. I've lost so many people. Like I'm ready to figure out, maybe I just stick to it, just see where it goes, like just endure the pain already. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah, I can relate to that. Like when you put it in the words that way, yes. Because I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe we could have done this a little bit differently. Or maybe we could have communicated a little bit more clearly, but no.
It's just
communication was very clear.
And I feel like bargaining and denial could probably go hand in hand.
Yes.
For sure. I don't know why they're so far apart, to be honest, but in the list when you look it up. But yeah, I think bargaining and denial is big because you're like, no, it's not actually gone yet because there's still ways where it could come back, or I could go back to that job, or that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, with the 5 steps, what's the silver lining after you become aware and you go through these steps?
Now you're aware, and now you're like, okay, how do I deal with the anger? How do I deal with all this pain? Maybe you go and you go to the gym and you start putting that in your health, or maybe you start working on a hobby. Maybe you invest more in your older friends. Maybe you go out and meet newer friends. Like you start adapting. And you probably do it subconsciously because you're probably likely feeling a void or just trying to get back to normalcy, that kind of thing. Or you find like different ways to cope. You learn more about yourself, and I think that's the silver lining for sure. Yeah,
you become a little bit more introspective. You become focused on building a new you.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this on the other episodes, but it's like, focusing on you and building those habits and getting into new hobbies Because, I mean, you got to find something to distract yourself. I don't think
Yeah.
there's anything wrong with that.
No, I mean, in several areas, like even when my friend passed away, like I got rid of the Mustang and got a truck. Like I had almost a new identity, and I started playing life a lot more safe and be more aware. Like, you know, the relationship with alcohol changed, relationship with other people who were having the same behaviors that might possibly put themselves in that situation. I was like, I can't be around people like that, you know, like those kind of changes in myself and what I choose. And same thing with like leaving college, like, you know, now I'm in this new city and what am I going to do with it? Look at all these people that I can meet. Look at all these places I can go. Like just trying to see what I do have and what I can do with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the silver lining is always the most satisfying and most fulfilling once you get to that place of realizing, oh, there's a new chapter that I can read about myself. Like you can really start to discover new things about you. And you can also choose certain things that you want to add to your avatar, right?
Yeah, no. And also, we've been meaning to talk about this, but we talked about this off air. It was about like, you know, even if it's a physical death or anything, you have a different relationship with it, with that person. Big time. Like maybe now it's more spiritual, or maybe it's just adapted. Like maybe, you know, now maybe you don't talk to the person every single day anymore, but maybe when you do talk to them, it's, you know, it's great, it's wonderful. Like you have different memories. You reach out to them for different things.
Yes.
Yeah. Same thing with the career. Okay, yeah, that ended, but look where I am now because of it. I've gained these new skills. You know?
Yes.
I gained this new perspective. Now I know who the people I don't want to work with.
Yes.
Big time.
Yes. I mean, I can think of so many friends in my lifetime that I thought they would never be out of my life. They would never leave my side. People who, like, when you saw me, KingFerdinand, all one word, you expected to see that other person. I don't know if you had relationships or if you have relationships like that.
Big time.
It's like when they see Becca, they know they're going to see, like, where, and they'll ask for the other person, right? Their counterpart. I have so many relationships like that. And I'm telling you, once it gets to a point where it's starting to slowly dissipate or slowly disconnect, I'm already preparing myself. And the grief process still doesn't happen until later. That's a very consistent pattern in my life. So I've seen a lot of examples like that, but more friendships that we just outgrow each other. And it's like, what do you do with that? You can't like bargain with yourself and figure out like why and ask all these questions and try to figure out why is this person no longer in my life? You have to trust that.
I'm trying to fix it. That's my thing. I'm like, oh, let's just fix it real quick. Let's figure it out. You know. Yeah. No.
You have to trust that this person is not incongruent with where you're going. That's the biggest thing that I have realized.
Big time.
You have to realize that.
Yeah. And have you ever? Where was I going with this one? It's like the grief. It's you know it's gonna happen early on. Like you're like, okay, like you said, you're like, okay, I know how this is gonna end. I'm gonna feel this grief. Like, do you ever try to like rush it?
No.
Or adjust it or fix it? No, you just let it be?
No, I let it be. One thing I know for sure is that I'm a great friend. I'm a great person. I'm a great listening ear. I'm fun to be around. All of these things that I can describe about myself, but maybe I wasn't everything that person needed.
Yeah.
And so I come to grips and accept that. I get to the finish line faster of getting over the relationship more faster than most people, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't try to do that. I don't try.
That's where I'm trying to grow at, because at this point I'm like, oh gosh, here comes the grief, here comes this and that. And I'm like, how do I rush the denial, or rush the anger? How do I get through that so that way I can move on with my life? Because for me, it's like I have a good day, and then all of a sudden something cues me about that individual or the career or anything, and I'm like, oh, dang it, now I'm sad again.
Do we have a black piece of tape to cover the label so we don't have any? I did it on purpose. You can't see anything.
Oh, okay.
But the show is open for sponsorships whenever the time comes.
And
we are open.
collaborators.
Yes, and collaborators. Yes.
But the silver lining is like how much you can adapt from that and how much you can grow from it once you do hit that acceptance. Once you're like, okay, you know what? I don't ever have to go through that relationship problems with that person ever again. Like, I don't have to get yelled at by them. I don't have to, tiptoe anymore. Like, I'm stronger now. Now I know my values. Now, like, you have a new sense of self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else to add? We can wrap it up, but I feel like there's an after show for some reason. We can keep the conversation going.
Let's do an after show for sure.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much for listening. This is episode 4. So thank you guys for, sticking along with it and with us. This is KingFerdinand.
All one word, yes.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay put for the after show.
Oh, recap. What's the 3 points that we talked about?
Why do I do this now?
Oh, it's okay. They have to get to know our personalities.
Yeah.
We're building a show, okay?
So, new beginnings. The 3 things are a fresh start, being aware of the stages of grief, and then the silver lining.
Yes.
So, if you're going through new beginnings, don't forget those 3 things.
All right, cool. So now we can really talk, okay? Let's relax the shoulders and really talk. I noticed about you as we've been collaborating on and building your show is that you're very passionate about delivering these messages to other people. Because we're not talking about this just because of the things that you and I have been through.
Right.
But I feel that your intention is to be able to touch an audience member, even if it's one person, because I've heard you say this before.
That's all it is. I'm not here for all the followers and all that jazz.
We'll get there, right? We're not obsessing about that.
That's just, icing on the cake.
Exactly.
Right now I just want to give you the cake.
Yes. So purpose, give me the purpose of why you wanted to talk about this today.
This was to bring awareness to those who may not know they're grieving.
Right,
and those who do know they're grieving to know that there's a silver lining out there. There is definitely, I hate to use the word get better because I think that's the worst thing you can say to someone who's grieving is going to get better because I think it just gets different and you adapt to it and you just see how strong you are and weak. That too.
Yes.
You see all sides of you, but I don't know, you see those new beginnings and different things happen big time.
Yes. And I wanted to give you a cheers on the show for committing and being consistent. You said this is week 5, right?
This is week 5, yeah.
For us recording, but I think we're on episode 3 that's going to be coming out pretty soon. Or episode 2.
This is actually, we release episode 2. We'll have 3 coming out next week, and this is 4 that we're recording right now.
Okay. All right. Another question, BestofBecca, where did you get this name from? What was your thought process on why you wanted to start a podcast?
BestofBecca started when I was younger, and I couldn't think of a dang name. I was like, this is the best of me. This is it.
There you go.
I was the best of Becca, and that's how it started arising. I knew I wanted to have some kind of personal show since I was in high school, mid-high school. But I started with radio. I was real insecure. I just wanted to start with behind the scenes. So I did that, and I really wasn't sure what I was going to talk about.
Okay.
For a long time. And then I just started watching people and I listened to tons of podcasts. And I learned that when you kind of invest yourself in a certain art or hobby or thing, that's typically means that you should maybe try it out for yourself.
Right.
And that's what I noticed. I started being a master of all these podcasts and seeing how they're all doing it. I'm like, I can do this. Let me just go for it,
Yeah. It's crazy. Have you been able to look at these podcasts, hosts, and all of these different shows out there, and you're like, I probably have a better product. And I think it's natural for us to compare. But I also think that we all have a lane. I think all of us have a lane, no matter what.
And for the longest time, too, I will say, I was I feel like I'm talking about everything everybody else is talking about, the same topics, same things, or whatever. I mean, you told me, too, you're you have a different voice for it. And they're going to tune into you personally. But I made this one comment on TikTok, and it had the most comments, which for most people, they're like, this is nothing. It was 4,000 comments, but that was a lot for me. And I just gave some wisdom to somebody who was leaving college, and she was it's a viral video of them really sad, and it was also linked to another person who gave a speech at the graduation that was say yes to everything, and my comment was say yes to only things that sit with your soul. And once I got all those comments and it got pinned to the top, I was like, I got something to say. I've got some wisdom to give people.
Wow. Yeah. And I agree with that. I think that if it's not congruent with you, don't say yes.
No.
Because you're going to have to go through the grieving process of something that you said yes to. And you should just and guess what? When you say yes to things that you feel is congruent with you, it may not work out.
No, and you will, that was my second part of the comment too, is like, you will learn when to say no through all the yes. Yeah.
I love that. All right, Vic, give me a question for BestofBecca so we can get this on camera. Because I have a million, but I want to get you into the conversation as well. You've known Becca for a minute, right?
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, he mentioned your
years.
name on the episode that I released, and I was like so delighted that it came, like
it was a year ago.
easy.
It was like over a year ago, right? They recorded it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've just been
September last year. So
September
like
of
last year.
And we just met and started about 5 weeks ago.
Yeah, so divine timing at its best. So
and I just showed up at a pool one day, and Victor was like, "Hey, let me."
Just show up. I planned it.
Yeah. I have so many ideas about the show and visions about like BestofBecca is like capturing different moments throughout your life. So. How willing are you to expose and share like personal moments? Like I'm even talking about like the kind of coffee you're drinking in the morning.
No, I'm here for it.
Because that's what I see for the show.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm getting real, I'm gonna get real about everything. Because I notice like when I watch TikTokers or anybody on YouTube, like I love seeing the realness because then it makes me feel not necessarily I don't like the word normal, but I'm like, oh, okay, I can be that, and it's not as ordinary. And if someone makes fun of me for that, like whatever, they do it too, and like we're just, I don't know, it makes me feel more human, and I want to share that with others. So maybe they're like, oh well, I drink that, or I do that, or I've experienced that, you know, I can talk about that too, and I can inspire people too. Like I have a lot of people that are like, your shows inspire me to make a podcast too, and I'm like, yes, that's what I want. I don't need followers, I need I want to be able to inspire.
Yes. I love it.
I mean, that's followers in a different manner.
It is. It is. Because like what I was able to do just now is capture your purpose.
Yes.
So when you look back at this footage, you're going to be able to really see yourself speaking about the passion that you have and the purpose that you have for doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So
it's just to give people a friend.
Yeah.
In their ear.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much once again for tuning in for an episode of BestofBecca. I am the co-host, KingFerdinand, all one word.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to be a collaborator with you. Every single week, we're going to be recording content.
Yeah, and you're listening to BestofBecca, and we'll get real next week.
All right. Let's wrap it up. Thank you.